Hello and welcome to yet another episode of CTO Talks. My name is Dmitry Stepanov and I'm a co-founder and CTO of Glorium Technologies, an international technology company hosting tonight's event. This is a video podcast for technical leaders and for those who want to become them someday. We have guests who possess extensive experience in this area, specifically in the area of technology. And tonight's guest is Michael Cunningham, CTO at Zelta. Before we start our discussion, consider subscribing to our channel. We have lots of great content coming soon, including future installments of CTO Talks. Now let's talk about our guest, Michael Cunningham. He is a co-founder and CTO at Zelta with many years of experience in fintech. Michael, it's nice to have you on our podcast today. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and about your company, Zelta.
Yeah, okay. Well, hi, Dimitri. It's great to be here. A bit about myself is I'm from Ireland originally. You can probably tell by my thick accent.
Yes.
I got my master's. I got my master's in software development back in Belfast, and then I worked in data science at Citigroup, and then I moved to New York City. This past few years, I started off working as an engineer for a construction company, building a boutique program for them. And then before my current gig, I was a team lead in an equities trading platform for a Wall Street investment bank. But now I am CTO and co-founder at Zelta, a startup where our mission statement is to create like cross collaboration on the web. And so obviously over the past few years, things have shifted massively in terms of the work environment. A lot of stuff went remotely. And me and my two co-founders kind of experienced a lot of kind of difficulty in getting kind of work done and work completed with our teams. And we've seen that as an opportunity to maybe start our own thing. So what Zelta is aiming to do is make that workflow of, make those processes of work where you have maybe people working remotely, make that as seamless as possible, and improve that workflow. And as I say, make our employees more efficient. How we're doing that is, as I said, like cross collaboration on the web. So now and from my own experiences, we found that if someone has an issue, maybe they have to go to email someone, or to go to Slack. There's a lot of jumping around between applications. Whereas if they onboard Zelta, then we have a Slack integration, we have an email integration. We sit on your web, so you could literally hit our icon, it'll pop out. You can write a note and say, "Hey, Dimitri, have you seen this report? Have you seen this? Is this date correct?" You'll get a notification. You can go into the app or go into whatever tools you're using for your business and reply there and then, actually on the web, like in that flow of work. So that's the goal.
Well, since you kind of introduced it in such detail your company, let's actually jump to the question that we discussed, number 6. What are the biggest problems in the time of remote working? And if you don't mind, I'll guide the topics that we'll cover during this question. So one of the top problems that being discussed on the web and in the companies, different level of the companies, is basically, well, I'll read it from the top to the bottom. It's a managing project, remote collaboration, tracking task and productivity, working from different location, time zone, etc., dealing with languages and cultural differences, building, maintaining trust, social connection, basically here as well, I would add, maximizing productivity, overcoming distraction, staying motivated, unplugging after work. So since you kind of already introduced your company and what you're working, out of this list, what do you think you are addressing?
There's a lot there to digest. I think the biggest thing that I found being a team lead in my previous job was, obviously we have a lot going on, but small issues could manifest into moderate issues and even big issues. For example, if I'm sitting beside you in the office and I have an issue, I have a small problem, I'm like, I don't understand this here particular piece of code or something. I could just talk to you right beside me. You know what I mean? Like, you're literally feet away. Whereas when everything shifted to remote, you're maybe going to like a director or someone in your team, you're looking for something that's maybe just something that's kind of holding you up at that particular minute in time. And instead of having that ability to talk feet away, you maybe send them a message but then again, that maybe gets buried at the bottom of their emails because they're probably busy. Maybe they don't see it for a while. So all of a sudden, a thing that maybe takes you 5 minutes, but you're, scrolling the web, you're, frantically looking for an answer. A thing that would normally have taken you 5 minutes in an office is all of a sudden taking you half a day, and it's holding up your kind of workflow. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that is the collaboration aspect, and that's where, again, with us, you'll have the actual app sitting in your web browser. So like, again, or we're going to develop it again in the desktop app. How we tackle that is, I have an issue here, be it on Salesforce. Is this the right date? Is this the date agreed with the client? I can write it in on Salesforce itself. So my app, like our Zelta app, will pop out. I can write it, I can pin the comment to the actual page on Salesforce. It'll send you a quick notification. You can then go into Zelta as well, and you'll see, oh, here's all my unread. And then, as I say, in the web as well. And then you can literally click on the link, take you right to the page. You can see that, okay, yeah, that is the correct date. Yeah, let's move forward. You know what I mean? It's literally a 30-second process.
So it's more like I don't know, task management tool, but not actual task. Like, I don't know, like if we get used to discussing in the software, for example, development task. It's more day-to-day task, daily task, some activity, some reminders. That's what you're trying to implement with Zelta?
Yeah, I guess. Sort of moving away from the like official kind of product description, but I guess it's kind of to remove them annoyances. You know what I mean? Like, because again, I found it being a team lead, and again, I can just all I can do is go back to my own experiences. That I found it was incredibly annoying that, okay, someone has an issue maybe on, or they want to see something different on Jira or something like that. They have to go to like Symphony or email or Slack, ping me there, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm in the middle of something. I'm like, okay, can I come back to that? But did Dimitri write to me on Slack? Did he send me an email? Did he write a note on the Jira? I don't know where that comment is. You know what I mean? Because we're working remotely now. Whereas if I have all those comments in like one place, I have integrations with email as well. I have regular heartbeat updates maybe every half an hour to say, here, you have a small issue Michael asked you about. You can literally go into Zelta, see all notifications across every app, and literally, you know what? Oh yeah, Mick, I know where that issue is. It was resolved 2 weeks ago by a coworker. Go look at their, maybe their documentation on it, and then that allows me to move forward in my flow of work.
I actually do have a question to you because, well, let me describe what we're actually doing in our company. So we use Slack for internal communication, and on purpose, I actually enforced a free version of the Slack that has all kind of limitation. I don't remember, was it 10,000 messages that can
Yeah,
be left in history and so on, so on. No communication, no group meetings. No group meetings is fine because we're using Google infrastructure. But for the messages, literally almost every month, I'm being asked, can we get a paid version of the Slack? Are you saving money? And I'm saying, no, we're not saving money. If we we will buy it. But I am against Slack usage because what happens with Slack, if it would be like historical information, people would put all technical information, all discussion, design question in the Slack, and it would be, as you said, buried in this history. How do I know? Well, yes, you have dedicated channels for some stuff and so on and so on, but still, it's different than keeping some notes, memes in Jira, for example. So if you have a task to implement, and if you have concern, you have questions, put it in Jira, put it in the comments. That's related to this task. It will be reviewed, it will stay in the history, and you will know why you made it this way or that way because of this small comment. Later on, you won't probably find the reasons of such a drastic change, for example, in some design or some implementation. So don't you think your tool will be somewhat, how to say, not efficient from this standpoint because it's not linked to the convenient tools as the project management tools? No?
No, I disagree. I think that, like, again, you need to kind of understand your audience and your target market. I think Slack is obviously being widely used by a number of kind of small to moderate companies.
Yeah.
You can toggle Slack on and off. So in your
Yeah.
example, Dimitri, we're actually the same. We have the 10,000 message limit per month. But if you toggle Slack on and you write a comment, say in Salesforce or say in Jira, like let's use Jira as an example from a technical point of view. because I had a lot of problems in the between Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, different tools that we all use that are kind of under the one Atlassian umbrella, sorry, but that again, comments will be lost. So let's use Jira, okay? So like if you have Slack enabled, you can then write a comment and say, here, I see this here thing on the Jira. Did you mean that? Or I know we encountered difficulty with that before. Do you mean something else? That can send you a message on Slack. If you're an avid Slack user, then you can reply, it will show in Zelta too. So that again, it depends who you tag as well. In our app, if it's just solely to you, you'll obviously get a Slack message. If it's your team, then obviously everyone on the team will get Slack messages and they can reply in Slack and it'll be shown on Zelta. So again, like why that helps is because if you're an avid Slack user, then you can see your comments on Slack as usual as you normally would. But if you're not, you can go to Zelta, see all correspondence, and that's just on Jira. So like again, if you say, oh well, we had this Confluence glossary page, here's a link to it in Zelta, well then it helps your team be more efficient because yeah, we have some issues with the Jira, maybe the description, there's maybe some ambiguity. You normally now you can write comments in Jira, but then again, it's like I know I'm solely working on this Jira. Does everybody else understand this kind of logic? If not, then you can have everything in Zelta and you can have, oh, here's a link to the Confluence description where all that their documentation is. Here's obviously the pull request in Bitbucket. I know Jira provides that, but the good thing is you do not need to jump around between 5 or 6 different apps to get the information you need. Everything's going to be in Zelta based upon the correspondence you have with your team,
I see. Okay, good. So already from the beginning of conversation, I can assume that you are an expert with remote work, I mean, because you got to study this market and you got to study situation with remote work. First question, actually, don't you think it's a bit late to jump on this remote work activities? I mean, everybody are getting back to offices these days, actually mandatory. Maybe a few days at home and a few days in the office. I mean, it depends on the companies. I know that Manhattan companies actually very strict with working from offices these days, not enforcing very well, but still the trend is going back to the office. What's your opinion about this?
Yeah, I think we may disagree there. Yeah, I understand there's a lot of kind of stuff in the news about people moving back to the office, but again, like as being a software engineer, I'm sure everybody can agree that some recruiters reach out to you and say, this is 100% remote. Maybe the company's located physically in like Texas or something like that, but you have 100% chance of remote work. I think again, I don't know if anyone really knows what the new normal is going to be. I think, I'm moving into like a different topic here. I think you, as a company, to hire the best talent, you're going to need to provide flexibility. So if you're telling people, I need you in the office 5 days a week, well, it's going to be difficult to try and retain people who have maybe 2 or 3 kids. You know what I mean? Maybe live 2 hours away. Maybe enjoy that aspect, that flexibility. You know what I mean?
Somehow we did survive before COVID, didn't we? I mean, it was
Yeah,
mandatory. Nobody would even think that you can work from home even once a week. It was a huge perk if you would be provided this benefit in the company, right?
yeah. But if we want to further on that with we survived before with, well, you could say stuff like we survived before with a horse and cart, but then the car came along. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah, sure.
technology advances things and changes things, and once things change for a certain way and people get used to that, it's very difficult to get them moved back into the way things were just because that's the way they were. I even feel that personally. Anytime I talk to my own parents, they
Mhm.
kind of wear it as a badge of honor that I traveled to work 1 hour and a half one way every day for like 30 years. And now, if you ask people to do that, they would be like, no, like I can literally go to my study and I can get all my efficient work done from the comfort of my own home. And it means I can pick up my kids from school. It means I can be there, for cooking the dinner if my wife potentially works at the office. You know what I mean? There's a lot of flexibility, and in being in the software sphere where yeah, like you're a lot of basically all of your work is done through your computer, then I think it's important to allow people to have that flexibility of working from home. But again, our mission with Zelta is try and make that if someone is working from home, it's not any disadvantage at all. It's as seamless as possible. The work
I
is
see.
still being done to an efficient standard.
Okay, good. So you're saying that we actually, I mean, regardless of this requirement, regardless of these new restrictions going back to office, it's a new normality right now. It's going to be, to some extent, significantly bigger remote work involvement than it was 3 years ago. That's what
Yeah,
you're... Okay,
yeah,
good.
definitely, yeah.
Well, let's step aside from the task management standpoint. I mean, about remote work, we still have a couple remote work challenges: building and maintaining trust, social communication, social connection. What do you think happening right now, and how do you think it's going to be resolved? Is it a
Yeah,
problem in the first place?
yeah, I guess that's a difficult question, but I would say, yeah, like building and maintaining trust is kind of a tough one. But again, that's another thing that that we feel at Zelta kind of falls under like collaboration as well. Like if you know that, you know, it obviously doesn't explicitly fall under collaboration, but collaboration certainly helps that if you know people, are doing their work and doing it to the best of their ability. I think trust comes from empowerment from maybe a management perspective. If you empower someone to have, autonomy over what they're doing, so long as the task's done, that gives that person a kind of mission. And then if they complete that, you have trust that they're going to be working to that particular level, and they have trust in you that you're give them, the ability to kind of express themselves.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, good. Um, Overcoming distractions, staying motivated. And actually, there's not one. And plugging after work. I'm not sure if you want to cover it in one stuff. I mean, because if you would be working in office, you leave the office, you sit in the car, in the bus, train, doesn't matter. Yes, you can kind of think about tasks that not completed, what's going to happen tomorrow, and so on, so on. But by the time you get home, you kind of transition it to the house activities to some extent. When you sit in your desk and you go to the next room, you're still at work, kind of, and deeply involved. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that's a problem everyone has, but I'm not sure what kind of category you would place that in. Motivation, I would say, uh, motivation's kind of a tough one as well because it can peak and trough. I'm not sure because I experienced that myself. Like when you did work from home solely,
Yep.
all of a sudden you started working more hours because, yeah, as you say, you go to the couch and then you think, oh, I forgot to do that, and you just go back, and then all of a sudden 2 hours have gone by. In terms of keeping motivation for remote work, I would say that's a difficult challenge that a lot of companies are facing right now. But a way to tackle it would be, again, like empowering employees to have kind of a good mission in what they're doing.
Okay.
Understand that, and again, I know like Google and Facebook and all done like mandatory days off just to kind of
Mhm.
unplug. Like we had weeks off, but again, I don't think anyone's kind of found a solution to really motivate employees like 100% of the time like they would be in the office. But again, I guess one could argue that even in the office, maybe employees aren't motivated 100% of the time. You know what I mean? So it seems to be a consistent problem across a lot of industries.
So like walking with a dog at home and basically reading some news at office, what's the difference, right? I mean, if the person doesn't work to want, the person doesn't want to work.
That's it. Yeah. Like,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good example. But yeah, again, I think motivation comes from trust. And if for me personally, and I know everyone's not like this, but if you're given an insight into what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're providing value and how that is achieving our goals on a kind of a sense of mission, a sense of belonging, a sense of empowerment, a sense of making a difference, they're going to be
Mhm.
more motivated to do their work. You know what I mean? Instead of, if I, like, for example, if I micromanage and I tell you, like, Dimitri, have it done this way, exactly the way I like it, and if it's not like
Yep.
that, it's wrong. You're not going to be motivated because you're just going to feel like all I'm doing here is just jumping to whatever Michael says. You know what I mean? So I think, like, again, you can get a lot from empowering employees. You can get a lot from, like, admitting you're wrong and taking their advice on board, no matter what their level is, because again, if they're empowered to work for you, they're going to be motivated to do so.
Right. And I mean, after all, we don't count minutes, right? The job needs to be done. That's the main purpose.
That's it.
Okay. Next section of the question is going to be related to CTOs, role, CTOs, I don't know, metrics, success, failure, how to become, what to become. Before we jump to this group of questions, Mike, you, during our pre-interview, you mentioned that you feel that you need to share, I don't know, knowledge, motivate future CTOs because of how you said it, because you feel that you need to pay your, I don't know, debts, because somebody helped you, because somebody motivated you, because somebody guided you to this role. Can you tell a little bit about this?
No, I'm not. I'm not sure.
What triggered your what happened in your life that made you CTO? I mean, some event, a person, just sets of factors, something that made you. I mean, I know that it happens. Like, I mean, let's create a company. I'm going to be CTO. I'm going to be CEO because I bet you know technology and I bet you know business and so on, so on. But that is already consequences. So something happened before this event. Can you come up? Can you remember something, or it doesn't? Because I have actually a couple more questions about this area. No, nothing rings a bell.
Yeah, no, it's not coming. No, not ringing a bell right now. Say it. I could elaborate on it.
Okay, so then let's jump a little bit to your history. When I was reading your experience at LinkedIn, I noticed that you've been participating in the volunteering program at the Barclays, and
Yeah.
you were teaching kids in and around Greater New York area, helping them to understand coding, to understand software development. Can you tell a little bit about this program and your specific participation in this program?
Yeah. I was as part of Barclays Digital Legals. It teaches kids how to code in and around New York City. Unbelievably fulfilling initiative that Barclays provides. So we would go to like primary schools. You would literally teach kids through like drag and drop. It's called Scratch. And again, the best part about it was, you would walk into a classroom and it would be very alien to the kids at the start, but after maybe 20 to 30 minutes and you teach them the basics, their creativity would take over and they're like, well, why can I not make it do this? Why can I not make it do that? And you're literally standing there and you're like, well, you can do that if you want. You can do whatever you want to do. And again, it's kind of a microcosm to code, and maybe this is what I just couldn't think of it, but like, you give people certain instructions and then them instructions are kind of building blocks, and from those building blocks their creativity can run wild, and they can develop kind of whatever they want. But yeah, no, it was a great initiative, and I was one of the leaders of that. And yeah, like, it's something I actually miss now, being involved with a startup.
Yeah, well, it's tougher because, I mean, it's you need to kind of organize, and especially with a public school, you cannot just go to the public school and with these programs.
Yeah.
So what were your building blocks?
In terms of my development for coding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was obviously like your university education at home. I got my master's, but again, like, you learn a lot in school that's maybe not applicable to work life. So I would
Yeah.
say it's probably the outside projects I did. Like, again, I can remember them now, but like building calculators or building like a Twitter clone, or understanding, if I do this way, this is going to help. We built me and two other guys built a market data feed for City, as part of my thesis for my master's. And again, doing things like that where you're collaborating with other developers, you're talking about stuff on a whiteboard. You're like literally disagreeing with one another. Those are the kind of best things that I say are my building blocks, because again, you have to obviously understand data structures and algorithms, but understanding them, then you can mix and match and try different things. And yeah, like again, your creativity can take over, and then that's how you obviously build great products.
So because of this, you started working, well, basically in the application development domain, right? But
Yeah,
I would say something happened in 2019 or 2020s when you went to the New York University School of Business.
yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I decided to pursue my MBA at NYU, and because I love to learn first and foremost, and secondly, I think that being in technology, I obviously love working in technology, and I love coding, and I love like all that aspect of software development. But again, I think that I enjoy that. I enjoy learning that, but again, I enjoy learning how this is actually impacting the business, kind of bottom line. And I knew that then I was kind of pragmatic enough to know that I don't really know enough about the business practices here. I could do something that could further my learning towards that. And with that in mind, then yeah, I decided to go to NYU. I still go now, obviously part time. I have one more year left, but I love it. Like again, it's going to be focused in business analytics, so there's still that tech element, but it gives you such a rounded view of, say, accounting, marketing, sales, etc., which again is so pivotal for me here in a startup, because all of a sudden I'm not just a tech guy, and I know you can't just be the tech guy when you're a CTO, but like you can weigh in on your sales and marketing discussions. You can weigh in on why are we investing in this? And you know what I mean? You can obviously weigh in all business topics as well, having that knowledge.
Um, okay, good. Was it your decision, or it's, I don't know, some mentor, some role model for you, somebody triggered you to get to the MBA, or it was just your growing inside, I don't know, desire to do it? How it happened? I'll explain you why I'm asking this question. So, because
Yeah, yeah,
a lot of people, especially CTO or people like this, they, how to say, they had this quantum jump. So they were software developers. Suddenly, they are interested in the business aspect. So 90% of the software developers, they, how to say, do not pay much attention to the business needs, even on the product they're working on. And this actually is the biggest problem. The remaining 10%, they are more or less interested in the business processes, and that helps a lot. But for example, for me, there was a person in my experience, his name is Chris Keegan, and actually probably the first time I'm publicly saying this. So Chris, thank you very much. You were my trigger. He, through, I don't know, his mentoring, through his examples, he kind of gave me this jump, understanding different perspective on the development, software development, managing, and everything else. And it got me a little bit interesting over little by little until I myself became more interested in the business. So did you have someone like this in your experience, in your history? No? Just
Um,
yourself?
I would say no. I would say I didn't. Like I obviously did my market research. I can't remember if I actually maybe name dropped someone to you before, Dimitri, but just thinking off that, a lot of reading of books. So I have a lot of kind of inspirations. Again, like you would look at, like, I wouldn't say he's complete inspiration, but again, like a guy like Sundar Pichai, obviously, who's the CEO of Google, he's got an MBA from Wharton.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm going to be the CEO of Google, but I'm just saying that,
No.
again, I think like understanding the business needs and the business practices is invaluable from a tech perspective, from a tech viewpoint. Because again, I know a lot of software engineers just love coding, and they're happy enough doing that, but I would rather understand why we're doing what we're doing and how that's adding value to the business itself.
Mhm.
And again,
Ex-
I do have a lot of kind of inspirations in terms of, like, as I say, I do a lot of reading. Guys like Peter Thiel or people like that are obviously not that tech savvy, but very able to work with tech people, if you get me. Like I'm thinking just off the
Sure.
top of my head, like the likes of PayPal, he was working very closely with Max Levchin, who was very, very tech savvy. But again, he was able to understand the kind of technology needs and translate them to the Max, and then obviously understand the business needs and how that's gonna, where the product's gonna fit and how that's gonna be effective, you know.
So to summarize, basically some kind of set of books helped you to shape your current vision. That's right? And examples, current
Yeah.
CTO, current CEO, current executive. Good. Well, that also motivates. So let's jump to CTO. One of the like simple questions: what do you think makes the CTO successful? So your vision.
Yeah, again, how long do we have for that particular question? Yeah, like what makes a CTO successful is I genuinely think like a guy or a girl who can wear multiple hats. You know what I mean? Like you need to be able to be tech savvy. Like for example, the art teacher needs to understand art. You know what I mean? Like you need to be able to have high level and low level discussions with your technology team, but you obviously need
Mhm.
to understand why the product fits where it fits. What's the product perhaps limitations? How does that impact the sales and marketing? You know what I mean? You're a bridge as well between clients, out between facing clients and your internal engineering team. You know, you're the kind of bridge between the inside and the outside, the internal and external. And again, as I say, you need to be very tech savvy, and you need to create a culture that people want to be there. You know what I mean? Like I think a great metric that maybe you mentioned there, like how do you kind of measure a CTO, would be employee retention, you know, because if you create a culture and an environment that people want to be in part of, I think that's a long way to being a successful CTO, because if you have talent and you retain that, then that's half the battle, you know.
Well, I mean, measuring CTO success on retention is kind of, how to say, a bit late, right? So it's a reactive
Yeah,
approach.
I'm not saying solely on retention. Like that's obviously one particular metric. Like again, you could move into, is the product, you know, developing in line with the latest technologies, and how is the product performing? Is it on time and on budget? Is the engineering team happy? Is, you know, project points being, you know, consistently higher or at a high gradient? You know what I mean? There's kind of a lot of metrics, but what
Um,
makes a successful one? Go on ahead.
Let me kind of put you into this framework of measuring success. So, well, you obviously heard about emotional intelligence, right? I mean, it was a very popular topic many years ago. It's still popular. It's still being used. But let's expand this measurement. So, we usually measure people by intelligence, right? Especially in the engineering industry. Well, intelligence is important because it helps you to make proper decision, analytical skills, and so on, so on. But to the intelligence, people are adding another metric, like emotional intelligence. They actually came up with multiple other intelligences right now. So it's a creative intelligence, basically ability to use existing knowledge in new situations, well, being creative, right? Digital
Yeah,
intelligence, well, I guess it's being savvy in the digital time. Vision intelligence, that's basically predicting future trends. And experience intelligence. So I guess it's a experience, your previous skills, your previous knowledge to understand customer experience, to meet desired outcome, and to create value. I'm reading it for the quotes. So I can repeat those intelligence for you, but I mean, which one would you put on top, and which one you put on the second place, and the third one? So intelligence, creative intelligence, digital intelligence, emotional, vision, experience.
um, I would say, yeah, in that particular
So
realm of, like, yeah, sector, I would probably put intelligence first, and then
okay.
I would say maybe creative intelligence second, and emotional intelligence third. But again, if we're talking about prospective hires here, I would probably put attitude above everything. And why I say that is because, again, in this current realm, I think talent is maybe the best it's ever been in terms of, you know, like the explosion in software engineers. So when you're interviewing a candidate, you'll be able to see their previous projects, their, you know, work experience, or where they've worked before, or what their interests are. And you'll be able to see, obviously, they're college educated, or have they done, you know, some crazy kind of projects, as I said before. And you'll have an idea of their pedigree then before they actually sit in that chair. You know what I mean? So if they have an attitude of like get up and go, and you know they really want to make a difference, I think that trumps everything else, because everybody, like, again, as me and my co-founders kind of have found out, like, in this startup game, but like everybody's smart. You know what I mean? Like literally all our competitors are, you know, intelligent people. It depends a lot. Then kind of depends on the attitude you have to literally, you know, how deep do you want to go, or how far do you want to go, or you know how much, you know, go do you actually have? Do you know what I mean? So like I would say, again, if I'm interviewing anyone, I know, like, obviously you need to make sure they're technically savvy. They need to maybe like reach a certain technical bar between like coding interviews and stuff like that. But if their attitude jumps off the page, or if in your discussions with them you have like a great feeling that, you know, someone like this is going to add a lot of value to my team, then I think that trumps everything else.
I see. Okay, that's understood. Um, well, I mean, we kind of went through, well, I mean, I put you in my framework of intelligences, but I mean, besides my framework, I mean, using a different slice, I guess, could you describe 3 qualities of CTO which are highly respected from your standpoint?
Yeah, I think the first be, and the first from my perspective, is a great communicator. You know, being a CTO, you're going to be managing teams, you're going to be managing different personalities, you're going to be interacting with clients, you're going to be interacting with other C-suite execs. You need to be a great communicator to all that wide array of people and personalities. So, you know, as I say, you need to be a great communicator to your own engineering team, but also to your external clients.
Hold on, before you continue, great communicator. I mean, well, greatness of communication can be measured in many ways, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I, how to say, for myself, I definitely distinguish great communication from the sales department and great communication from the technical. I cannot say, I mean, we say technical department, but from the technical standpoint. So when I communicate to clients, I have to communicate to some extent as a sales department, right? I mean, I'm representing the developing business, so on and so on. But I still, majority of my communication is on the technical side. I'm not selling something. I am telling what we have, what we can do, and so on and so on. I mean, and that needs to be frank, straight, and with a great level of transparency. So, what's your style here as a great communicator?
Again, I think it's about building trust with people in the short, and that is the mark of a great communicator. I think it's maybe difficult to measure, but yeah, if your clients are retained, and you know they're maybe repeat clients, but if it's the first time, if you can create a bond in a short space of time, that's obviously being a great communicator externally. I would say internally, being a great communicator is being approachable by anyone in your engineering team, keeping tabs on people. You know, is everything okay? Is there anything you need? Is there anything I can do for you? Things like that, like, go a long way for people, because maybe there is maybe 1 or 2 developers in your team that maybe you'll have, you know, some issues, maybe with work, without work, and maybe they need to maybe discuss it with someone, and you know no one's reached out. So it's good to keep tabs there. I think things like that there go a very long way for your internal team, but
Okay.
for your external team, and when you're doing sales, you know, it's stuff like the little things, that the cues you can pick up on, you know, understanding your audience, maybe inquiring about different things, showing an actual interest in them instead of just being completely frank, you know, really helps build rapport and can help you and your business going forward.
Good. So communication is number 1. Second.
Yeah. And for me as a CTO, number 2 I would put is empowering my team. I've like, again, for this current role, we've used some outsourcing like a few months ago, but I think for like a good example would be in my previous role as a team lead for an equities trading platform. Perhaps I would, ask people what particular aspect or what particular way they would do certain things, and even if it wasn't the way I would do it, I would go, okay, let's go with that. Obviously it's very dependent on what we're trying to do, but for like something that's maybe small, like less worry or something, and someone was like, why don't we try it this way, I would say, yeah, let's go that way. And even if I didn't think it, like I didn't think that was maybe the optimal solution, because again, you can let someone do that, and if they come back and they get the solution, then that's great. But if they don't, then you could be like, well, yeah, I thought about them kind of pitfalls and them kind of bottlenecks, so I was thinking about this way. And then again, it allows them to be, it allows you to build trust with them, because again, you're not just saying the way to do it because I've seen those bottlenecks you're going to create. It allows them to maybe go off and try and solve the problem, allows them to be themselves and show their own creativity. But then also, if it works, perfect. If it doesn't, then you can sort of say, okay, well, that's a learning curve, because down the line, you're going to be well equipped to those particular bottlenecks. Put it a different way, if using that example, and I don't want to go into like the tech stack or anything, but using that example, yeah, it was like a 3 point story we had, and I was like, I think we should do it this way. The person, the kind of junior developer, is like, no, I think it's maybe better to go this way. I was like, okay, let's go. If I told him there and then that this is the bottlenecks you're gonna experience, so you should do it the way I say, he would probably never learn from that. You know what I mean? Whereas he went down his own path, spent 2 days doing that, got to a bit of a dead end, and then we had another talk about it, and he was saying, "Yeah, I didn't envisage those bottlenecks at all." And then I was like, "Yeah, maybe that's just my experience. I've experienced that before." He's going to remember that for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that's a great trait to have as a CTO, to be able to empower others, to allow them to make decisions and not just micromanage.
But don't you think is how to say, letting your people making too many mistakes will stall the actual progress on the product? No.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, but again, I'm not saying that's happened every single time, but I think you need to allow your team to the freedom to make mistakes, because if we're not giving them that freedom, I think we're gonna encounter bottlenecks, because we're just following orders all the time. We're gonna stifle creativity.
Don't they have enough mistake even with our guidance?
um Yeah, but again, I think that if you bring people in and you kind of, I think dictate's a bit of a strong word, but if you bring people in and you tell them what you want them to do, then again, you're gonna just have people that just kind of listen to orders, you know what I mean? Whereas if you bring people in, and yes, you're gonna have failures, but those to greater things and greater efficiency within your team, because everybody probably has a different background, everybody has different experiences, especially in technology. Everybody's probably done different projects, so understand different ways of dealing with data. I think that in order to keep those skills and allow them to grow, you need to allow people the freedom to attack solutions in their own way. To an extent, I understand if it's a huge feature and we have a tight budget and a tight deadline, you can discuss. I think you're going to go down that road and you're going to encounter those particular bottlenecks. But again, in the early stages, it's great to keep and foster creativity.
Good, good. Number 3.
I think the best, like the best thing for me is to be, and again, this, I don't want to sound vague, but to be a great link between, falls under communication as well, but to be a great link between your development team and those internal to your company, and those developing your product, and those that you're selling the product to. So I think again, communication is one aspect of that, but being able to build rapport with your clients and being approachable, being someone people like to be around is huge for CTO success.
Basically connecting business needs and technical, I don't know,
Yeah,
abilities.
technical know-how. Yeah, I would say that's it in one
That's
sentence.
actually, by the way, probably one of the biggest obstacles in most of the companies, because huge disconnect between business and between technical teams.
That's why
We hope,
I'm doing the MBA as well
yeah,
to be better
that's
at that.
be on the participate in both worlds, right? And see them as they see themselves, right? And then know how to connect
Yeah,
them together.
speak both
That's a,
languages.
yeah. I keep forgetting to look up the statistics, but that's actually, I need to do it for the next CTO talk. In the Eastern Europe, well, I mean, I'm from the Eastern Europe, about 80% of executives in the big and middle-sized companies, they came from engineering teams. So that's kind of, I think, this problem, who can understand who, technical people, business people, technical people. That's actually a very interesting trend that we're seeing lately. And I think it's about the same statistic here in the United States, but again, I will need to do this research and see the results of this research and the ratio.
Yeah,
Would you agree with me if I would kind of aggregate your three qualities of the great CTO: communication, empowering team, and link? It's not just communication, it's not just empowering team, and it's not just link, but how to say, balancing and connecting unconnectable pieces. Like, for example, in empowering, it's balancing your business needs and balancing motivation, empowering. You cannot just keep empowering, right? I mean, it's not a kindergarten, it's not a school, it's not even a university. It's a business. Business needs to be moving. If business is not profitable, then we're all losing our jobs, including people
yeah,
who are trying to empower. I mean, not. It's not going to be a great example, right? If we and
yeah,
same with the link, we cannot just demand from the business, "Hey, I don't care about the business. This is a technical team. This is a solution, and that's just take it or leave it." Same from the business
yeah,
standpoint. I mean, business cannot say, "Well, I have this task to be. I need this task to be implemented tomorrow, and I don't care about your abilities, about your scale size. Your problem," right? So
yeah,
connecting, balancing, and bringing everything together, that is probably one of the biggest and probably one of the major skills of the CTO that needs to be nurtured and needs to be developed. No?
yeah. No, I agree 100%.
Cool. Excellent.
And again, going back to the empowering thing, like, yes, it's it's something I think is very important because, again, as I say, we need to foster creativity, and I think this is the enemy. But saying, "Oh, we're doing it this way because that's the way it's always been done," is one of the
Mhm.
worst things to maybe say, because again, it just stamps on new ideas. But I agree with you that, obviously there's a reality aspect too, that we are a functioning business looking to make a profit, and we have tight deadlines and that. But I
Yeah,
think where possible, allow people to show their creativity.
cool. Well, we kind of covered this, but in general, CTO mission, and specifically in your company, what's your mission?
My mission is changing, and it will continue to change. It'll continue to iterate, and it'll continue to kind of organically move in a direction that I don't even know yet. But right now, my mission is to build a product, and we're obviously a small startup that's just started. And my mission right now is to build a product to get. We have some paid pilots and some paid beta testing right now, but
Mhm.
again, it's to listen to our customers and listen to any feature enhancements they particularly might like. The biggest maybe issue I have right now, not issue but challenge, is we're building a product, enough features to add value to your business, but being flexible enough to, as I say, add value, but then trying to be as receptive as possible to see what maybe feature or features are going to provide the most value, and then go double down on that particular aspect. So it's difficult to kind of code something like that. That's kind of, I don't want to say vague, but it's kind of like generic enough to provide value across a number of features, but then it's specific enough to be actually incredibly valuable for our beta testers and pilot testers. And then yeah, like once we get the feedback back, and once we kind of talk about our company mission, what we're gonna kind of double down on, that mission then though, will then shift from one of actively developing to actively managing, outsourcing teams, new hires. All of a sudden, you sort of take a step back from maybe like coding all day, every day, to helping out others, to defining tasks, to letting people know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then again being involved in the kind of clients and the marketing and sales aspect of our business.
Okay. Well, about balancing different activities, I actually have 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, we need to complete our interview because of my other activities, unfortunately. So let's
Yeah.
try to fit remaining questions in those remaining 10 minutes.
Okay.
About role with managers and product owners, well, I mean, in your company and in general, well, I understand that it depends on the situation, the size of the company, product, and so on, so on. But in your specific company, are you using an active role, like working with teams deeply? Well, I kind of can deduce that you are working actively with the teams. But is it something temporarily? You're looking to kind of move away from this active participation and be more passive about focusing on the business development? What's your vision here?
So the question is, am I active or passive in terms of development?
Now and in the future.
Yeah, in right now I'm very, very active,
Mhm.
coding, like 80, 100-hour weeks.
Right.
In the future, I would like to still be active. I think, like, again, looking at great examples of, CTOs or CEOs, like you would see like Elon Musk, for example, in the actual Tesla factory sometimes. I think it's good to be active in the kind of weeds of your
Musk,
company. But
Musk,
again,
Musk, Musk in general is more like exceptions. He's like literally
not the rule.
trend-taking person. No?
Yeah, but again, I think like actual fact that he was on, like the production floor, I think in Fremont in California, like helping out with different things because they were so inundated with things, kind of really resonates with your employees. So it's good to do that. But again, obviously it's going to be a balancing act between active and passive, because you're going to have other issues in terms of, again, in terms of like C-suite stuff, like how is the product performing? Can we make any more feature enhancements? That's a lot of kind of discussions with the business aspect and how that's going to play into sales and marketing. So
Mhm.
again, I'm not sure I've answered your question to a good level,
That's
but
good.
I think that right now I'm very active, and I think I probably will move to more passive. If we were doing like 100% right now, I'd probably move to maybe like an 80-20 split in the future.
I see. Okay. Well, yes, you did answer this question. Startups. Well, because you are a startup, and I guess how old you startup? 4 months, right? Yes, 4 months.
4 months or 4 or 5 months,
Started
yeah.
in May. In 4 months, what's the biggest challenges and how you overcame those challenges?
Yeah, again, that could be like a 5-hour question, but I think the three kind of biggest challenges for startups in general, and maybe this is what people might get the most value out of, if they're looking to start their own business, is time is number one. Because again, I think everybody's smart. All our competitors are smart people. If everybody has infinite time, they'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Money kind of ties into that too. We've obviously got some angel investment. We're looking venture investment, but again, we need to show that our product provides value to be able to get the venture investment. And so time and money, I'd say, are number two, one and two. And maybe the last one would be like direction. Again, we're trying to build something that's going to provide intense value for our customers. But at this moment in time, we have great ideas, but we have numerous ideas, and we kind of need to get that customer feedback to allow us to drive our particular roadmap and what we're going to double down on. So I would say like time, money, and direction for startups is maybe the three biggest challenges.
Okay, well, I hope you overcome it, right?
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
your best luck, because I mean, your idea actually does look like very interesting and very, very functional. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the question that been asked for many, many years and will be asked for many, many years: to hire a team or to outsource?
One last thing I actually wanted to say about startups is, I'll answer that question just in a minute or two. But one thing I wanted to say about startups was I read a book recently about PayPal, the founders, it's called, by Jimmy Soni, and literally, like, if anyone is thinking their own business, like, in that book shows like their team was maybe the best ever assembled. Like, they had Elon Musk, like Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, Reid Hoffman, and David Sachs, like all absolute celebrities right now in terms of venture or companies they created. And they were always paranoid that, like, their main source of income, which was eBay, was gonna implement new rules that kind of killed them, if you get me. So, like, looking back, they had the best team perhaps ever assembled in terms of a startup, and they were constantly paranoid that they were going to die. So, like, again, for any potential startup founder out there, like, understand that, yeah, time, money, and direction is going to be difficult, but there is going to be stresses. But even stresses happen to the best team ever. So I just wanted to get that across.
Okay.
And in terms of to outsource or to hire, I think that's a difficult question too, because it kind of depends largely on the projects or what you're trying to accomplish. I think there's obviously benefits to both. If you outsource people, you can have them for a particular period of time and get a lot done because you have a lot of great resources. I think though as well that if you hire people, you can kind of really get them emotionally involved, because you can have them involved in kind of all aspects of the software lifecycle, and, like, they know what we're doing and why we're doing it. I would say I want to come down on either side.
Well,
Are you going to push me to come down?
no, I mean, but I mean, from my standpoint, I mean, it does correlate with your idea that you expressed at the beginning, that remote work is current reality. And I think one of the biggest, how to say, blockers for the outsourcing was remote work. I mean, how can we work? I mean, we are in office, but these guys are somewhere else. But again, right now, everybody are working from everywhere. I mean, you have US citizens working, I don't know, from Bali, from Australia, from Europe, from Latin America, from any other place. Nobody care about time zones or geographical location these days.
I know.
And we have literally a couple of minutes left. Favorite books? Can you share books? Well, you already mentioned few during our conversation, but can you maybe reiterate and come up with other books that you would recommend to our audience to read on?
Yeah, I love reading Michael Lewis. That's like The Big Short, Boomerang, The Blind Side, stuff like that. A book I've literally just finished was Loonshots, which is by, I think, Safi Bakhal. But it was about, I would definitely recommend it. It was about how ideas normally die 2 or 3 times before they kind of change the world. So it's a great book. It's a great book for just kind of perseverance and stuff like that.
Okay.
Other books, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, it's a great book. And like Product-Led Growth is another great book. I've just finished that Loonshots, as I said, and I'm going to start reading now $1 Billion Loser about Adam Newman.
Okay.
So again, I think reading is liberating. It's unbelievable to, like, just ideas you gain just from doing that is, infinite. And I would definitely recommend people to read as much as possible.
Okay, great. Again, Mike, it was a very interesting conversation. Thank you very much for your participation, and we will meet later. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Dimitri.
Bye.
Bye-bye.